I guess it's time to do a show. Mirejovsky, News Talk 840 KXNT. Greetings, friends, and welcome to the What's Right Show, your place for common sense conservatism, Monday through Friday, 1 to 3 p.m. So, media and Trump, I gotta say this, in light of the coverage Trump is receiving on his 100th day in office, which was yesterday on Tuesday. Of course, there was the big ABC interview. We'll get into that because it had some, I think, spectacular moments. Trump outdid himself. But then also, of course, we have a retrospective not just on Trump's 3+ months in office, but I think also at the media coverage that he's gotten. Media Research Center had its analyst look at almost 900 stories on the big three evening newscasts. This is, of course, ABC, CBS, and NBC. And it found that the new Trump administration, Trump 2.0, in office since January 20th of this year, has faced 92% negative coverage. It's a lot of viewers when you add it all up, okay? They average about 20 million viewers during the first quarter of 2025. So this is, collectively, the big three are the most widely watched news programs in the country. Now it's, by the way, it's even worse for other people in the administration. Elon Musk, for example, 96% negative coverage. And Pete Hegseth, the embattled Secretary of Defense, the one everybody is fighting against right now in the political establishment because, of course, he's out there cleaning up the progressive mess left behind by 4 years of Joe Biden's auto pen. He's received 100% bad press from the big three networks. It's fascinating, right? By the way, remember the election coverage, the 2024 election? The same organization, Media Research Center, a nonpartisan group, goes in and examines the coverage of Trump and Kamala Harris. Now, this was another doozy. And I remember it was reported at the time, but just for perspective, when it went through the coverage from July 15th to October 27th, went through that specific period of time, which is when Kamala Harris was in the race, and it's probably like a week before, ending in the period about a week before the election. ABC, CBS, NBC News had 85% negative coverage of Trump. 85% negative coverage. That number has gone up now. What about Kamala? Dare to guess? Have a number in mind? You think it was overwhelmingly positive for Kamala? By contrast, again, Trump, 85% negative during the campaign. Harris got 78% positive coverage. It's the most unbalanced in recent, basically modern history. And 31% of Trump coverage, this is important as well, focused on controversies like his legal issues, inflammatory statements, just 7% for Harris. And it was, I think, best shown in the selectively edited interview that 60 Minutes did with Kamala Harris, where they outright reformatted and played cut and paste with her answers in order to make Kamala Harris sound more with it. Her actual answers, if they had been played on air, would have made people giggle. So that's the state of things. Trump is fighting not just basically the entire judiciary, all of the ACLU and the Supreme Court. When I say all the judiciary, it's all the lower level courts, and then of course the Supreme Court. He's fighting the media too, and the Democrats in Congress and the Senate. I'm going to get into some of the latest legal entanglements. I was on Live Fox now last night talking about kind of the first 100 days of Trump's, all the legal battles against Trump. And boy, since I gave the interview, it seems that there have been even more issues come up. The latest one's a doozy, and we'll get to that today, hopefully. But a point being is Trump's fighting off everybody, and he's doing it with aplomb. Now, I saw the ABC interview. The ABC interview was excellent. This was timed to be released on Trump's 100th day in office. Terry Moran did it. Really no idea who Terry Moran is. Of course, I've seen him, but he's, sort of a milquetoast nothing guy. All of the top stars at ABC were vetoed by Trump and his team. Trump basically hates ABC News, and for good reason. Well, Terry Moran went into this thing loaded for bear, no doubt about it. It came up short, but it reminded me of something, and I've mentioned this here, periodically on the program. Many years ago, when Trump was first running, and whether it was in 2015, late 2015, October, November, December, or early 2016, I can't recall exactly, but I remember listening to Rush on his program talking about how you can't pick a fight with the media. Now, Rush and Trump were very close. I mean, they were friends, and I'm sure Trump gave this advice to Trump. Rush gave this advice to Trump personally at the time, saying, don't pick a fight with the media. That's a fight you can't win, because Rush at the time was right. No one in the history of the political establishment or modern political times since the advent of mass media, at that point, going back, I would say more than 100 years, has won a fight against the media barons. I don't do it, he said to Trump, and he said it publicly, and many of you heard it as well. And I think Rush would be ecstatic, were he alive today, to see the extent to which Trump is actually winning this fight. Because one of my takeaways from this ABC interview, and I'll play a key few clips here for you just in case you missed it, but also want to show you some points in it that I think are going to become more newsworthy as time goes on. I think Trump would look. Trump has proven, in fact, that you can, provided you've got the skill, the media skill, and the rhetoric flourish that Trump certainly has, can go head to head with the media. You can win, and you can make them look like idiots. Treating dumb government propagandists, when I say government, even though Trump is the government, that's not the real government, as we're finding out, the deep state, quite a real thing. And you got to treat these you can't treat them with respect and deference. It's one of the principal mistakes made by George W. Bush, who went through the media trying to be amenable to the newsmakers, and they pilloried him for as long as it was politically expedient for them to do so. And ever since Bush left office, didn't say a word for 8 years, and then emerged as a tepid supporter of globalism and a critic of Donaldus Magnificus, a.k.a. Donald J. Trump. The media swarmed him again with love, accolades, etc. It's how they operate. They're soulless devils, these media types. And so, very rarely was Rush wrong about something, and I think at the time, very right. But it's just something I want to point out and remind us all as we're sitting here enjoying Trump slay the media. Because more people, you want to talk about percentage of trust, more people trust Trump than they do the media. That's one of the most unbelievable things now, very much a fact of life in the United States of America, consequent, I think, to Trump's willingness to go and bring the fight head to head with the media, doing so very effectively. All right. Yes, we'll get to the ABC News interview, and of course the rally in Michigan. My gosh, Trump was on a tear. Yesterday was a great day. We'll take you through all of it, and of course developments also with immigration. My gosh, between the Supreme Court and the Democrats changing their tune, maybe there's a pivot. Okay, we'll get to all of it. Sam Mirejovsky, News Talk 840 KXNT. The What's Right show is brought to you by Sam and Ash Injury Law, 702-820-1234. 702-820-1234, because you deserve what's right.
I'm the best.
Personal injury law has been the same for a long time.
The best.
Big egos, greed, and sleazy schemes. We've had enough. Welcome to Sam and Ash, the new standard for personal injury law, where things are done the right way, because you deserve a team that delivers real support and results. When you have both, your whole world can change. Sam and Ash Injury Law, because you deserve what's right.
You don't believe me? Here are the stats. According to a YouGov survey conducted from January 30th to February 3rd of this year, 44% of Americans at least have a fair amount of trust in Donald Trump. And what does that specifically refer to? To, quote, state facts fully, accurately, and fairly. By comparison, the same group of Americans polled, Republicans, Democrats, Independents, etc., have only a 29% faith in the mainstream media for them to do the same. Sam Mirejovsky, News Talk 840 KXNT. Greetings and welcome to the program. Sam at what'srightshow.com. Sam at what'srightshow.com. That's my email. Best place to reach me. Of course, always happy and pleased to hear from each and every one of you that does email me. And I check these during the show. I've got my email up right here. In fact, got it right here in front of me. So ping me. And if it's on topic with what we are talking about, I will, of course, engage and respond on air, mention your email, etc. Okay. Trump ABC interview yesterday was aired. It might have been recorded the day before. It was in the Oval Office, the Resolute desk in the background. Classic view. Trump spends a lot of time in the office on camera, has conducted multiple press conferences there, doesn't always use the briefing room. He just is very comfortable in the Oval, and it showed. So he sits down with Terry Moran, and look, I'll give you an example here. His sparring with Moran on illegal immigration is perfect. It's absolutely perfect. Because, Moran wants to get into all the due process stuff, whatever, and Trump just doesn't give him an inch. That's a 2-minute clip. Bear with me. I don't want to cut it up. It's this good to catch all of it. And again, this is the kind of Trump that I think is slaying the media dragons out there, and very effectively.
Illegal crossings at the southern border have plummeted, a staggering decline. But there are questions about your methods. And so I want to ask
about my message?
Methods. About your methods. How you're accomplishing
They seem to work.
Do you acknowledge that under our law, every single person who gets deported gets a hearing first to make their case?
Well, are we talking about people that are citizens of our country or not?
No, you're not deporting citizens at this point.
Well, let me ask you, did they get hearings when Biden allowed 21 million, because I think the number is 20 million people to flow into our country? You had 21 million people that came into our country through a stupid open border, and they were prisoners, and they were people that you don't want, in many cases, in our country, right? They came from all over the world. They came from the Congo. They came from South. They came from all over the world. We're talking about some of the roughest countries in the world they had here, including terrorists, by the way. Now,
but
did we give them a hearing when they came in?
Well, the law requires that every single person who is going to be deported gets a hearing first.
Well,
do you acknowledge that?
I'll have to ask the lawyers about that. All I can say is this. If you're going to have 21 million people, and if we have to get a lot of them out because they're criminals, we're going to have to act fast. We can't. Do you think we can give 21 million trials? Let's say each trial takes 2 weeks. Is that what you want us to do?
The law is the law, sir. The law is the law, and you're
the law
sworn
doesn't say anything about trials.
No, not trials. Hearings. I said
These
hearings.
people came in. They're not citizens. They came in. illegally. They came into our country illegally. We have to get them out.
There's a legal process for that.
I can't, sure, and we follow the legal process. I can't have a trial, a major trial for every person that came in illegally. We have thousands of murderers that came in. They're going to murder people. They already have murdered people in our country.
Right, so
we have to get them out, and we have to get them out fast.
Really bad guys, but in our country, even bad guys get due process, right?
If people come into our country illegally, there's a different standard. These are illegal. They came in illegally.
But they get due process.
Well, they get a process where we have to get them out. Yeah.
Okay, let's talk about the Venezuelans.
They get whatever my lawyers say.
Can I translate this? Of course, I'm listening to it as a lawyer. And I'm listening to what Trump is saying, and I'm going, well, Trump is talking about trials. That's not due process. Due process, as I've explained here many times, could be something as simple as an administrative hearing in front of someone. Might not even have to be a lawyer or a judge, but somebody in a position of authority to review the facts. That's it. So is Trump stupid when he says, whoa, trials? No. Folks, absolutely not. This is brilliant from top to bottom. And the reason is he's not talking to this goofball Terry Moran at ABC. He's talking to the millions of people, not the people sitting down watching NBC the whole interview, but the people who are going to watch this clip. Many of whom were Trump supporters, are Trump supporters, maybe will be future Trump supporters. And what are they hearing in this clip? They're hearing Trump saying, well, wait a minute, what do you want me to do? You want me to get a 2-week trial for every bad guy that sneaks into this country who's here to kill, rape, and otherwise hurt Americans? No, well, we need due process and da-da-dee-dee-dee. Wait, so these murderers, you want 2 weeks trial? You want a big drawn-out thing? If people are not thinking of this with any kind of legal training. They're thinking about it practically. What the Democrats are trying to do by pushing around all this due process nonsense and claiming that it has to be drawn out, because that's part of what they're doing, of course, is they want to slow down the deportations. They want these people to stay. What's Trump doing here? He is telling everybody watching, if we follow this thing that ABC News and apparently every Democrat is suggesting that I do and take my sweet, time getting rid of each and every one of these people, we're never going to get rid of them. They're going to be here forever, and they're going to cause untold harm and damage to the community that you live in. I think that's what people are hearing. Does that make sense? So Moran then invokes Joe Rogan, a Trump supporter. He's a Trump supporter, and he says we can't become the monsters, right? We can't become the monsters that we claim the other people are.
You deported more than 200 Venezuelans to that prison in El Salvador. You say they're violent, they're gang members, they're terrorists. Many of them don't have a criminal record at all.
Well,
but
I'm not so sure about that. If you take a look,
I want to read you something.
Excuse me. When you look at those people, they were violent people. They were violent people.
But many of them don't have a criminal record
Go
at this
ahead.
point.
I don't know. That's what you say.
Well, it's based on their lawyer, what their lawyers have said. Okay.
Go ahead.
Joe Rogan said this. Joe Rogan, one of the leading podcasters, Trump supporter, about the deportation of Venezuelans. He said, quote, rounding up gang members and shipping them to El Salvador with no due process, he said it was dangerous, and added, quote, we got to be careful that we don't become monsters while we're fighting monsters. Is Joe Rogan right?
Oh, I agree with that 100%. Yeah, we want to be careful, and we are careful. We're doing something that has to be done. We have a country that's very sick. Joe Biden, and it's not him because I don't even think he knew what the hell was happening, but the people around him are vicious people, and what they've done to the country is unbelievable. They've allowed 21 million people to pour into our country. Many of these people are criminals. They've allowed you mentioned Venezuela, the jails of Venezuela to be emptied into the United States. Do you know Venezuela crime is way down? Way, way down. You know why? because their criminals are now living happily in the United States of America, and we're getting them out.
This is exactly right. This is what people are hearing and listening to, and it's so important. Be right back, folks. Don't go anywhere. Rarely wrong, always right. Sam Mirejovsky here behind the What's Right microphone. Happy Wednesday, folks. The last day of April. No idea where this year is going to. It's just passing us by ever so quickly. Email is sam@whatsrightshow.com. sam@whatsrightshow.com. We are 101 days today into the Trump presidency, meaning, of course, that yesterday was the big milestone. 100 days, first 100 days, always an important milestone, retrospective. At the beginning of every administration, people generally calling this period a honeymoon period. You know, it used to be called that. President would get, some degree of kindness from the media in his first 100 days. That's what I don't know. I'm just bringing something up from the not too distant past. It's a fact. You look it up. Anyway, Trump did not enjoy a honeymoon because the media immediately went to town on him. And of course, one of the things that was discovered is here, him and many of the people in his administration, very heavy negative coverage by the mainstream media, specifically ABC, CBS, NBC. 92% negative coverage of Trump in his first 100 days. And that is, how does that compare to Biden? Because I mentioned earlier about Kamala Harris during the campaign. During the campaign, Kamala Harris was treated, we know this, obviously, more nicely than Trump. Trump received 85% negative coverage from July to October. In 24, Kamala Harris got 78% positive coverage. But Biden, how does this compare to Biden 4 years ago during the same period? Well, Trump's at 92% negative. Biden was at 59% positive. Okay, there you go. Can I point out something else, too? And I'm going to get to, I got more from this ABC interview because this is one of the big three that have this 92% negative coverage. By the way, 100% bad coverage from all three networks of Pete Hegseth, 96% negative coverage for Elon Musk, and 89% negative coverage of Robert F. Kennedy Jr. 89%. Wow. Guy just wants to make America healthy again. The media hates him because, of course, he's a change agent. The media protects its own. They protect the status quo. They protect the establishment and the globalist class. All of that is self-evident. Now, I also when we're talking about negative, positive coverage, I remember distinctly the difference between media coverage of Biden and Trump, meaning Trump coverage is almost always substantively negative about policy. And the media does with, people they like. For example, the drooling wonder from the great state of Delaware, Joe Biden, they, what do? They kind of do these puff pieces. They talk about, gee, Mr. President, what's your favorite flavor of ice cream? Boy, hard-hitting stuff, guys. The leader of the free world, really? This is what you're asking him? Well, we know. Look, it's they'd rather ask him that than to explain what the hell his degenerate son was doing, peddling, his father's influence around the world and getting everybody in the Biden family paid. So I get it. One must keep up appearances, I suppose. So anyway, the ABC interview with Trump covered and got into the subject of immigration, which, of course, the Democrats are furious about. Well, no doubt you're being effective. I love that Terry Moran said that. Oh, no doubt you're being, you're getting stuff done, but your methods, we don't approve of your methods. Trump's like, I'm like, well, I think my methods are working. What do you want from me? Look at the border crossings. Like, well, we have this thing called due process. And Trump basically shuts it down, says, don't lecture me. I'm talking to my lawyers. We're going to do everything right. End of story. So in this vein, Trump says, they said, well, listen, I want to talk about Kilmar Abrego Garcia. Now, I'm surprised, frankly, that the media wants to even bring this up. And I suspect, honestly, this line of questioning was brought up before the latest shoe dropped on Abrego Garcia, which, did you see what that was? Yeah, it's not good. They basically found, the New York Post obtained court documents from 2018 that showed that Abrego Garcia was accused of gang membership by his wife's ex and the father of the two kids in that family. Edwin Trejo Ramos alleged in a petition filed in court, he's Jennifer Vasquez Sura's ex, quote unquote, she is dating a gang member. No bueno, right? But anyway, I digress. So here, again, I think every bit of news, the more and more that comes out about Abrego Garcia, the less defensible he becomes, the less of an icon, patron saint of the Democratic Party he becomes, and the more yesterday's news. Just right. I mean, he's going to disappear faster than, I don't know. Well, I'm not going to say it. All right. So here is Trump on Kilmar Abrego Garcia Tuesday. Yesterday's interview was released. Terry Moran doing the first 100 days interview brings up our favorite El Salvadorian.
Let me ask you about one man and one court order. Kilmar Abrego Garcia. He's the Salvadoran man who crossed into this country illegally, but who is under a protective order that he not be sent back to El Salvador. Your government sent him back to El Salvador and acknowledged in court that was a mistake. And now the Supreme Court has upheld an order that you must return him to facilitate his return to the United States. What are you doing to comply?
Well, the lawyer that said it was a mistake was here a long time, was not appointed by us, should not have said that, And just so you understand, the person that you're talking about, you know, you're making this person sound, this is a MS-13 gang member, a tough cookie, been in lots of skirmishes, beat the hell out of his wife, and the wife was petrified to even talk about him, okay? This is not an innocent, wonderful gentleman from Maryland.
I'm not saying he's a good guy. It's about the rule of law. The order from the Supreme Court stands,
He came into our country illegally.
You could get him back. There's a phone on this desk.
I could.
You could pick it up, and with all the power of the presidency, you could call up the president of El Salvador and say, send him back right now.
Now, I'm going to pause right here. Pausing the tape. This is an interesting point in the interview. I personally would have advised Trump not to answer the question this way. He's getting baited. Mark my words. This is going to be news soon. 24, 48 hours a week, tops. This right here, you know, is going to be a point of contention, right, that Trump could allow this person into the country. Could release him essentially from El Salvadorian custody if he was so inclined. The courts are going to make a lot of this. I think the better thing to say is, no, he's in the custody of his home country. They have custody of him. I can't order his release. And this is something that every administration official up until this point has been saying. That's the right line to say. So Trump here, my opinion, may have stepped in it a little bit, but I'll explain in a minute here. Let me finish the clip here so you understand the full context, and I'll definitely tell you why I think it's not going to be that big of a problem.
Yeah. And if he were the gentleman that you say he is, I would do that.
But the court has ordered you to facilitate that.
I'm not the one making this decision. We have lawyers that don't want to do this.
The buck stops in this office.
No. I was elected to take care of a problem. it was a unforced error that was made by a very incompetent man, a man that turned out to be incompetent, that you always said was wonderful, great genius, right? And now you find out, all of the media now, they're saying what a mistake they made. A man who was grossly incompetent allowed us to have open borders where millions of people flowed in. I campaigned on that issue. I wouldn't say it was my #1 issue, but it was pretty close.
Right up there.
I campaigned on that issue. I've done an amazing job. I have closed borders. He said you couldn't do it. You wouldn't be able to do it. It would never happen. Well, it happened, and it happened very quickly. Wait a minute. When we have criminals, murderers, criminals in this country, we have to get them out, and we're doing it.
Everything Trump is doing is a political question. You pretend that it is court-driven. Unfortunately, you weren't awake or paying attention during the Biden years. Biden routinely ignored what the courts told him to do. The only remedy against a president going rogue, I suppose, is what? Impeachment. That's the that's the prescribed solution to stopping a rogue president. Trump here has, again, very keen political instincts. It really doesn't matter what the Supreme Court says or doesn't say. At the end of the day, he brings it back in each of these questions. Notice how he brings it back to the voters. He's either speaking directly to the voters in a way that is, I think, very plain spoken, right? Very transparent, and very a very likable way of saying it, but also on an issue that is extremely popular. Trump understands that it is not about what happens in court. The law ain't worth a hill of beans. He has to win again in November of 26. Not talking about 28 here, folks. Talking about the midterms. Trumpism will be on the ballot. Republicans will win if they are decent candidates and if Trump is popular among the base and the flabby middle of the country, at least some of it. Trump knows this. He's not arguing the finer points of law with this dingleberry. He's talking to the voters about what they care about. This is an 80-20 issue. These trash people, criminal, illegal immigrants need to be get out the country now. Stat. That's it. Nothing else really matters. What's the parallel here? When Trump ran for president the third time in 2024, what was on the ballot? It wasn't just Trump versus Biden, Trump versus Kamala, Trump versus the Democrats, whatever the hell was going on the other side of the aisle. Whoever was running that show, right? It wasn't just Trump versus the other guy. Trump's freedom was on the ballot. It didn't matter what the law was or what constitutional protections Trump had or what his rights were under Article 2 of the Constitution as president. If the Democrats had won, Trump would be on trial right now. Now, who do you think knows this the best? Trump. He understands that the courts are a joke. Who made the courts a joke? The Democrats. They turned the courts into a political organ to get Trump, or stop Trump first and then later to get Trump. And now the same Democrats are sitting around, but law and order, but the Constitution, but sir. And Trump's going, I don't freaking care. Buzz off, losers. Impeach me or not, kiss my white, I don't know if he tans it as well, orange rear end. I love it. This is the right attitude. Trump either wins on this, destroys the court. He's already destroyed the media. Next up, the courts. Get at it. Because we cannot be ruled by a tyranny of unelected judges. No bueno. And don't talk to me about due process and what these same people that defended what was going on to people's grandmas getting caught up in January 6th. Literally, these people disgust me. Sam Mirejovsky, News Talk 840 KXNT. The What's Right show is brought to you by Sam and Ash Injury Law. In a crash, call Sam and Ash. If you get hit by some Prius that has 25 libtard bumper stickers on it, the person is in there crying hysterically, filming a TikTok about how Trump has ruined them lives. Don't call the insurance company. Don't call a woke corporation. Call Sam and Ash Injury Law, 702-820-1234, because you deserve what's right. Robbie asked me, folks, a question here during the break. I want to answer it before it leaves my mind. Sam Mirejovsky, News Talk 840 KXNT. I am Nevada's favorite recovering Californian. Great to be here with you. So there was that answer on the ABC interview to the Pete Hegseth question. This is where Trump was asked if he had full confidence. Here, let me get the exact words. I'm going back here a minute, but it's a good question, Robbie. He got asked by Terry Moran if he had 100% confidence in Pete Hegseth. Well, I didn't play this yet. So this is good that I'm bringing this up. Like, listen to this interview. Listen to the question here, this back and forth. Let me play it. Because I mentioned that, Pete Hegseth, 100% negative coverage. So here's how this went, right? This is the question and answer, how we lead up to this question on confidence, right?
I want to ask one question about Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth. There's a lot of turmoil at the Pentagon right now. There's the signal chat with his wife on it where he's discussing that attack in Yemen. There's another signal chat discussing the attack on Yemen. There's a reporter accidentally involved. You said the other day that you had a talk with the secretary. Did you take him to the woodshed?
I had a talk with him, and whatever I said, I probably wouldn't be inclined to tell you. But we had a good talk. He's a talented guy. He's young. He's smart, highly educated. And I think he's going to be a very good hopefully a great defense secretary, but he'll be a very good defense secretary.
You have 100% confidence in Pete Hegseth? I don't have
100% confidence in anything. Okay? Anything. Do I have 100%? It's a stupid question. Look.
It's a pretty important position.
No. You don't have 100%. Only a liar would say I have 100% confidence. I don't have 100% confidence that we're going to finish this interview.
So good. So Robbie's question here is, this moment in the interview, is Trump still confident in Pete Hegseth? I think the short answer is yes. There's and again, I'm not friends with Trump. I don't know him at that level, but I have spent professionally more time than most listening and dissecting the words of the great Donaldus Magnus here. And I'll tell you, this particular point here. Hold on, let me just read to you I got the transcript here. Okay, it gets asked, does he have confidence, whatever. He's a talented guy. He's young. He's smart, highly educated. Trump talking about Hegseth. And I think he's going to be a very good defense secretary. Hopefully a great defense secretary. I'd be a very good defense secretary. Gonna be. I think Trump's a little frustrated with him. But I think he intends to get him to a better place, a stronger place, and maybe make a fewer missteps. I think so. So I think Trump's not looking to dump him. It doesn't sound like that to me. And And I think from my vantage point, the reason that Hegseth is drawing so much fire is not because Hegseth is incompetent, but because Hegseth is affecting change in a department that's very politically connected and scary. For talking about the parts of the government that are most difficult to get at for conservatives, for Republicans in power, it would be the IC, the intelligence community, and then followed closely by the Department of Defense. I do not envy Trump, Hegseth, or anybody else going against all of these dialed in, juiced in generals who, of course, were promoted and advanced in the Biden years, and who, of course, have a lot of friends all over Washington, D.C., all around the world, pulling out all of the stops. So I think things are looking pretty good for Hegseth. All right, when we come back, the rally yesterday, when I get into that, update on Canada. How are things going here now that the Libs have won the Trump opposition in Canada? I have predictions on that. The further I study this, I will share that with you. Okay, quick break, top of the hour here. One more hour of the What's Right show up next. Greetings, friends. Sam Mirejovsky here, Nevada's favorite recovering Californian. Wherever you might be listening to and enjoying the What's Right show, welcome to the program. Sam@whatsrightshow.com is my email. At What's Right Sam on X, formerly known as Twitter. Speaking of X, Isla, I believe here from Las Vegas, just tweeted at me about 20 minutes ago. Really enjoy your show. Thank you, Isla. Great to have you listening. I appreciate your kind words and support. It means the world to me. I also got an email just now during the break that made me laugh. This is from Diana and Dave. Happy Wednesday. We liked your use of the term dingleberry in your commentary today. Yes, I did use that last hour, dingleberry. I don't know where it came from. Anyway, Dan and Dave write, in our house, a dingleberry is something hanging from underneath our cat's tail when she comes into the house after an outdoor bathroom trip. Well, I don't know, Diana. I think my comment to describe the mainstream media buffoons, dingleberry, was entirely appropriate. Here's an example of why. So I don't know if you heard it here during the break. They had a little news update. Those of you listening on something called terrestrial radio, lols, CBS News, of course, does the updates. And yeah, okay, so they did a thing about how the Dow is up, 150 points today. Here is a headline. Mainstream media news. I think this looks to me, based on the formatting, to be Wall Street Journal. Dow headed for worst April since 1932 as investors send no confidence signal. Remember when, well, wait a minute, this was 9 days ago. 9 days ago, this is what we heard from the mainstream media. Doom and gloom and terrible, and oh my gosh, Trump is going to screw up the whole country. Where are we at right now? Well, let's start with where we were on April 1st. The Dow Jones Industrial Average was at 41,879. And it closed today, end of April, 30th of April, 40,669. What is that, down 1,200 points? Okay, it's down. We went through some tumult. We're getting countries to the table. And the worst that happened to us was to a 1,200 point drop on the Dow Jones. All right, I'm pointing it out. And when we talk about the negative attention that Trump is getting, 92% negative coverage so far in his first 100 days by the big three, ABC, NBC, and CBS. This is more of what we're talking about. Now, Trump, for his part, is going straight to the people. he's going. He had a rally, 100-day rally, and this was great. He was down there in Michigan, and then it was absolutely fantastic. He says we're just getting started. This is the right tone to have when talking to people about it. So here's Trump, some of his opening remarks.
This is the best, they say, 100-day start of any president in history, and everyone is saying it. We've just gotten started. You haven't even seen anything yet. It's all just kicking in. And week by week, we're ending illegal immigration. We're taking back our jobs and protecting our great American auto workers and all of our workers, frankly.
Yep. Crowd going wild, by the way, people standing outside in lines to get in. Very well attended. Indoor rallies, snipers everywhere. Far safer than some of Trump's rallies during the campaign, particularly the one in Butler, Pennsylvania. So things looking good there. A protester, of course, began interrupting at one point, and Trump had some fun with this person and even may have accidentally misgendered her.
What's the problem? Is that a radical left lunatic? He's just a child. All right, get him out. Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, ma'am. I thought it was a guy. Thank you. And she now has to go home to a mother who's a big Trump fan. Her mother's watching. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I said he, and it's a she. I'm sorry.
Now, remember yesterday, I mentioned this whole business of the third term. I'm telling you what this is all about. Trump is not saying no to it because I think it is a huge advantage for our adversaries who don't know if he's serious or not to, in the back of their minds, worry what 4 more years on top of the next 4 would look like with Trump in office. One of the worst things you can have when you're a president is to be something called a lame duck. What does that mean? Well, it's at the end of your term. Generally means, your term is all but done. Somebody else has been elected president. Everybody's talking about what their agenda is. This is like Biden basically after November 5th. Although, hold on, Biden was the lamest of ducks around, given that he was he was barely cognizant of what was going on around him. Biden was a lame duck the minute, I don't know. Well, you could really make the argument the minute that he left the race and wasn't moving for re-election, and Kamala Harris was in his place, right? Now, but we don't know when his tenure in office will end. Could be 6 months from now. I mean, they could drag him out in the street and hang him. Putin the same. But it could also be 10 years. It could be 15. And so world leaders know if they want to deal with China, they got to deal with Putin. They got to deal with Xi. There's no alternative. It is a disadvantage that the U.S. has strategically, I would say, right? Geopolitically, that the president is certifiably going to be replaced after 8 years. It's a guaranteed thing. One of the things I think is not a good idea when it comes to term limits. Okay. So Trump, of course, teasing this all again. Last night, the crowd was chanting 3 for Trump's third term. Listen to this.
They say, well, they go on 3. Thank you.
Well, there you go. Trump didn't say anything. He laughed and he said, that's cute. And what is the mainstream media saying about, see, he's a dictator, he's a fascist, he's going to completely disregard the Constitution. But anyway, that's, so anyway, I'm telling you, this just is normal stuff. Okay. I'm just explaining to you why he's toying with it. I don't think Trump is sincerely going to run for a third term. I think it's problematic, legally problematic. You would have to make an adjustment to the Constitution. And I think if he ran and was elected against the Constitution, that he would probably be removed from office. I'm just being honest. Don't shoot the messenger. I'm just telling you how it is. But that's not the point. Everybody is always so obsessed with what is Trump saying. What's he say? Oh my gosh, Sammy said this. Speaking of ducks, the ones that aren't lame, the duck just glides on the surface of the lake, right? You see the duck, all the action is happening beneath the surface. Now, with Trump, it's the other way around. Everybody's focused on what his words are, all the back and forth and everything. And they miss the gliding action. They miss him, making moves. They miss the big picture. They miss what Scott Bessent yesterday in that press conference. I really liked this expression, strategic uncertainty, right? That's what people are missing. And it's because the mainstream media have started with the premise that Trump is a dangerous buffoon. And so are viewing everything he does in that lens. They have to convince you that you're an idiot for thinking Trump is a good guy. You were wrong, and daddy knows best. I think that's probably the only way to summarize what the mainstream media thinks of all of us. Sam Mirejovsky, News Talk 840 KXNT. The What's Right show is brought to you by Sam & Ash Injury Law. 702-820-1234. That's the number that you call even before your own insurance company. Don't trust it to State Farm or whoever else that pretend that they're in your corner. They're not. Spoiler alert. Get some legal advice from an independent party. All right. Sam & Ash Injury Law, 702-820-1234. Offices in Las Vegas and Newport Beach, serving Nevada and California. And of course, if you got legal questions anywhere else, we will help you and direct you in the right place. Yep. All right. Quick break. We'll be right back. Don't go anywhere. Another, 45 minutes or so of the What's Right show up next.
The Sam and Ash team, they wanted me to have the best care. They had my interests at heart. I have an enormous amount of gratitude. I cannot say enough thank you.
Greetings, friends. Welcome to the What's Right show. Welcome back. Sam Mirejovsky here. sam@whatsrightshow.com is my email. And yes, I just got an email from Alan, and I responded because apparently I had missed some of your emails, Alan, and thank you for bumping up your question to me to the top of my inbox. Sometimes you have to do that. I'm doing my best. Trust me, folks, I'm doing my best to get to everything. I am, but I do it all myself. I want to, have my eyes on this. And so sometimes just don't get around to it. By the way, yesterday, Trump rally, people waiting in a long line outside to get in. You can see from every clip that I saw of this event that there were a ton of people there that were very eager to get in. One American News, love OAN. Love. One American News was there on site talking to Trump supporters. And there's this one particular interview with a Michigan woman that caught my eye, and I wanted to share it with you. So here's a reporter asking her yesterday afternoon when she's standing outside waiting to get in, what she thinks of Trump so far in the administration, how things are going.
From Moran, what made you want to come out here today?
In 2017, I lost my son Gary to fentanyl poisoning overdose. So President Trump is the first president that really, really cares about the lives that are lost, is closing the borders, stopping fentanyl from coming in. Actually, the fentanyl that my son got hold of was from China. So closing the borders, the tariffs are very, very important to me, and he just came in so strong in these first 100 days and just knocking everything out of the park. And as the mom of an angel, I just wanted to thank him from the bottom of my heart.
See, what I tell you last hour, it's not a problem in the courts. not in judicial courts. Trump's only real challenge is the court of public opinion. If he's on the right side of an 80-20 issue, he can barrel through it at the outer limits of his executive authority, perhaps even trample on some conventions, meaning ignoring unlawful Supreme Court rulings, and just get it done. Can you imagine where Trump would be politically if he hadn't started as strongly and if he hadn't barged in and basically started sending people away, deporting them in spite of all the court orders coming through? I want to make it, this is actually, we're now getting to the crux of a very important point. Today I saw Ann Coulter say something negative about Trump, and I retweeted it on my X account at What's Right Sam, retweeted it, and I said what? I said, oh boy, here we go again, because I remember when Ann Coulter lost her faith in Trump in Trump's first term. Now, what did she lose faith in with Trump in 2017, 2018? Anybody? Easy question. Build the wall. Trump had an entire campaign that was about building the wall. He also said Mexico was going to pay for it. I don't think any of us really gave a rat's rear end whether Mexico paid for it or not, but we wanted him to build the wall. Now, did he build some wall? Yeah. Did he build really a lot of wall, enough wall to make a difference? No. Did border crossings actually go up, spike in the middle of his first term? Yes. And so conservative supporters, people who carried water for Trump, supported him, felt like they were betrayed in the media. But also, a lot of ordinary Americans who voted for him, supporters, didn't show up in 2020. And you can cry about stolen election all you want, and I'm starting to be more and more partial to claims of fraud in 2020 than I ever was. But it doesn't change the fact that there were a lot of people who supported Trump in 16 that didn't come back in 20. They were disillusioned. And I think Trump's takeaway lesson from this has been, it really doesn't matter what the courts say. I got to fulfill my campaign promises. Because if you go back to 2017, 2018, 2019, the wall isn't getting built. This is all pre-COVID. And what's Trump's excuse? Well, Congress isn't giving me money, and there's legal battles, and they're filing injunctions and all this stuff. And I know, look, I consistently here on the radio would say and come on and say, listen, guys, I mean, Trump is getting, blocked by everybody. Can't do it. He's trying to get it done. I mean, yeah, he didn't fulfill the promise, but, and I've been saying that consistently, for 8 years now, or 6 years. But is that a good argument? I don't want to criticize myself too heavily here, but it's not. Actually, it's a weak ass argument, to be blunt. Because you either get it done or you don't. And excuses are worthless. You think people who wanted Biden to give student debt relief to the masses care that he violated the Constitution and ignored the Supreme Court in getting it done? No. They all sort of say, yeah, that's my guy. And probably bought him, and Kamala Harris, by extension, some votes. Now, you tell me where you are more or less okay with people giving, dancing on the line. Do I want my president to, within the bounds of the Article 2 of his Article 2 powers, to protect the border at all costs and expel foreign enemies? Yes. I actually think that the Supreme Court's order here to return these bad actors is absolutely unconstitutional. And I've explained that the president, when acting in accordance to a federal law passed by Congress, is at the absolute top, the zenith of his constitutional authority. That is established law. I don't care that law was passed in 1798. It doesn't matter. if Congress doesn't like it, they can repeal the law. That'd be my number one argument. If I was a lawyer at the Supreme Court, the Solicitor General, whoever representing the Trump administration, well, what do you mean this is an old law? It's still the law. It is the law. If Congress didn't like the law, then they can repeal it or pass a new law that modifies the existing one. But they didn't do that. So I'm not even getting into the merits of it. I mean, Trump's arguments are far better than Biden's ever were because Biden was giving away money without Congress and without congressional approval. That was the crux of the problem. Biden was doing it without Congress. Congress never gave him the authority. Congress has given Trump the authority to expel invaders. And these Tren de Aragua MS-13 people are invaders. That's no different from a military. Tell me how. Especially when Venezuela and the government there is training these people up, putting them in, paramilitary camps and deploying them into the U.S. No bueno, as I have said many times before. Interesting stuff, right? Sam Mirejovsky, News Talk 840 KXNT. Quick break, be right back. I had to call my uncle today, Robbie, my uncle Peter, who lives in the Alberta region of Canada, check in on them to see how they were doing post-election there. Sam Mirejovsky, News Talk 840 KXNT, Sam at whatsrightshow.com. So this Alberta separatist movement is actually taking off. My Uncle Peter was telling me that's I think something around 37% now of the public supports Alberta leaving the union. Now, let me tell you something funny. I didn't know this, so I'm sharing it with you because it's kind of interesting. There are there's a chart that I vetted that looks to be accurate of the last fiscal year equalization payments. So there are takers, right? There are provinces that are takers, and there are provinces that are, givers. That where there's certainly an outflow of tax revenue. Everybody gets taxed. But what is interesting is what regions actually end up being the biggest receivers of money. So if you look at, let's see here, Alberta, Saskatchewan, and British Columbia, which are actually the three, Canadian territories, provinces that seem to be the most interested in maybe parting ways with the Canadian government, becoming either independent or, dare I say, part of the U.S., okay? These three states received zero, and I mean zero federal dollars in the last fiscal year. Meanwhile, Manitoba and Ontario, which is where all the libs are, and Quebec, where all the insufferable little whiny francophonies are, okay, they all received money, $4.5 billion, $576 million, and $13.5 billion, respectively. Now, guess who gets what Senate seats? Now, again, this is based on population. I get it. But again, the three states that aren't getting any money are also very conservative and did not vote for the Liberals. They each have 6 Senate seats. Ontario has 24 seats. They got $500 million Canadian dollars in the last year. And Quebec, the Frenchies, have $13.3 billion and get 24 Senate seats as well. I know it's based on, I get it. I know what it's based on. I understand that. But imagine they get all this political representation. They get all of this money. And it comes from the hard-earned tax dollars of the people that are voting conservative that don't get nearly the same or close to political representation in the upper chamber of their parliament. This is going to make people pissed. right? And you look at the the blue-red map. Now, by the way, it's the opposite of here. Red is liberal, blue is conservative. So you got to be careful with these maps when you're reading what's going on in Canada. The blue, heavily blue areas are exactly that. Outside of Vancouver, aka Vancouver, but everybody from Hong Kong moved there, so that's what I call it. Outside of Vancouver, basically, BC, British Columbia is red. Saskatchewan is half, is conservative, half is blue. Alberta's all blue, and half of Saskatchewan is blue, meaning conservative. Okay. What fool wants to stay part of this? The Alberta Premier, Danielle Smith, she's like the governor of the state. She's a rising conservative star. This is somebody to watch. Look, Canada can waltz around all day long about how strong it is, blah, 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 and how they're going to get Trump. But I think the disintegration of Canada is a very realistic prospect. Can you imagine if the outcome here, we're going to show Trump, and 5 years later, Canada as we know it ceases to exist? Imagine all the people that are lamenting Trump with his 51st state stuff going, that was stupid, Trump, that was stupid. Well, you just got the liberals elected, da-da-da-da-da. I don't know. What if Trump did it on purpose? What if he wanted the liberals to win? What if he knew this was going to bait the Canadians into a frenzy that they would re-elect a government that makes the Joe Biden Democratic Party look like saints by comparison, with clowns like Trudeau and Jagmeet Singh in government? You don't even know Jagmeet. He lost his seat too. He's the guy with the little towel wrapped around his head and absolutely insufferable. They call it, he's the Maserati guy. He drives a Maserati, is basically a millionaire, and he's been in elected office his whole life. It's very perplexing how this happens. But we have that here in the States too. Sounds familiar. What the Canadians don't have is Trump. What the Canadians don't have is Elon Musk and Doge. What the Canadians don't have is the American fighting spirit, although it does exist in Alberta, parts of British Columbia and Saskatchewan. I know sometimes I have said on air, hey, I wouldn't, don't know if we really want the Canadians and part of the U.S., the kind of throwing cold water on the 51st state stuff. And I'll get emails, and you guys are right, by the way. I've responded, I hope I have, to every single one of them, and accepted you're correct, that we would love to have Alberta as a 51st state, or some combination of British Columbia, Alberta, and Saskatchewan as a 51st state. Would be great. Hey, you know what? If they threw in Yukon territory up there, we would be connected to Alaska. I mean, if Putin can, waltz through Ukraine under Obama to get to Crimea, then I don't see, and then finish the job under Joe Biden, I don't see why maybe we can't do the same. Although I'm not suggesting military interference. Please do not take that as something I'm suggesting. Okay. This all interesting stuff. We live in the most interesting times. It's like the old Chinese curse, right? May you be cursed to live in interesting times. I don't know. I think it's all very fascinating. It's one of the most fluid times. And, there's opportunity. Can you imagine living in basically a communist, woke, dystopian country like Canada and be sitting there as a tax-paying conservative and be watching, Trump in the U.S. clean things out, throw out immigrants, seal the borders, go after government waste, or throwing out the liberal, the liberal fascists in government? You're sitting there going, oh my gosh, annex me now, take me now, Jesus. I'm telling you, this just is, I know this because I know conservatives that live in Canada, and trust me, they could push a button to bring Trump in there and have Trump be, the governor of their province. They would do it in a heartbeat. So anyway, I'm just pointing out that things are very interesting. Yeah, Robbie, that's exactly right. Yeah, Alberta, Northwest Territories, Yukon, Alaska could finally be part of the lower 48. We could, this would be great. We could actually sell the Democrats on this. We could build a train. I mean, Robbie, think of that. We could do high-speed rail. This is one of the things. Pete Buttigieg could build it. He likes choo-choos, I think, is my understanding. Okay, let's take a quick break here. Sam Mirejovsky, News Talk 840 KXNT. Sam at what'srightshow.com is my email. And at What's Right Sam on Twitter. Get on Twitter if you're not on Twitter. I'm telling you right now, it's a good place to be. Support Elon Musk. Costs nothing. Zero. Just sign up. Get an email address. I don't get anything for this, but certainly go on there. Follow me and other people that you like in conservative media. You'll be much better informed. I promise you that. Sam Mirejovsky here behind the What's Right microphone. Don't go anywhere. Back after these messages. Hi, welcome back. Sam Mirejovsky, News Talk 840 KXNT. Oh, by the way, just a quick thing that I discovered here during the break, looking at how these elections in Canada broke down. It's kind of like in the U.S., right? We have pockets, large swaths of the country, very conservative, others quite liberal. Of course, the French, the Québécois, or as I like to call them, the Francophonies. 55% liberal votes. Ontario, where they hate Americans, 56% liberal. Manitoba voted 50% conservative. Saskatchewan voted 93% conservative, and Alberta closely following it, 92% conservative. British Columbia was at 47%. Just pointing some stuff out, right? Give them, 100% liberal on Prince Edward Island. 91% Nova Scotia. New Brunswick. Leave that to Canada, okay? Leave that to Canada. Oh, but the problem is Yukon. Robbie, Yukon and Northwest Territories voted 100% liberal. But that's because they allow caribou to vote out there. And they have become wholly dependent on the welfare state. It's the Salt Licks. Mark Carney, can't do this with a straight face. Mark Carney promised the moose some tasty snacks. Okay. I am just making that up, folks. I have no concrete proof or evidence that the Canadians allow moose to vote up in the Yukon. Remember Sergeant Preston and his Wonder Dog Yukon King? If you are under 70 years old, I don't think you know what I'm talking about. In fact, if you are under 70 years old and you know who Sergeant Preston and his Wonder Dog Yukon King were, email me. I want to hear from you because you're going to be just about as weird as me. Sam at what'srightshow.com. Sam at what'srightshow.com. If I get enough emails about this, Robbie, I will share my story about that show. Okay. Well, what is going on? People are wondering, what is this love fest between Trump and Whitmer? Trump and Whitmer. Sam, please, for the love of all that is good in this world, explain to us what Trump is doing here. This is at the Selfridge Air National Guard bases before Trump went to the rally. Trump basically gets up there and says, hey, would the governor care to come up? Gretchen Whitmer, Governor Whitmer, come on up to the microphone. And, of course, Whitmer wasn't prepared to give any remarks and said this.
Well, I hadn't planned to speak, but I'm on behalf of all the military men and women who serve our country and serve so honorably on behalf of the state of Michigan. I am really damn happy we're here to celebrate this recapitalization at Selfridge. It's crucial for the Michigan economy. It's crucial for the men and women here, for our homeland security and our future. So Thank you. I'm so grateful that this announcement was made today, and I appreciate all the work. Thank you.
There it is. Trump even was somewhat nice when it came to Gretchen Whitmer, who recently was in the Oval Office, by the way, hiding her face. She didn't know she was going to be on camera, chumming it up with Trump. Watch this.
I heard about it recently from some people, including your governor, who has done a very good job. She came to see me. That's the reason she came to see me, by the way, to save Selfridge. And she was very effective, along with some of the other politicians and some of the military people. They love this place. They love what it stands for, all the victories they've had here over the years. So I want to thank Governor Gretchen Whitmer for bringing it also to our attention very strongly. And, you know, I'm not supposed to do that. She's a Democrat. They say, don't do that. Don't have her here. I said, no, she's going to be here. She's done a very good job, frankly, and she was very much involved with the Republicans. They worked together on saving it, and it was not easy. So I want to thank you very much, Gretchen.
What do you think is going on here, Robbie? I have my theory. Want me to go first? Okay, I'll tell you what I think. I think that Gretchen Whitmer is not a nice, good person, okay? And she, we're trying, the Republicans here, if you're paying attention, they're trying to turn Michigan, Wisconsin, some of these states, and turn them red. I don't know. I think among liberal voters, I think being flattering of and drawing close to a Democrat is kiss of death for the Democrat. I think it's just a huge, it's a huge problem. So yeah, I think that's got something to do with it. I do. Now, is Whitmer, is she termed out, by the way? She's termed, I got to look this up because I feel like she was reelected, and I don't know what their rules are in Michigan if she can run again. But she has been flaunted, I'm going to say that word, by Democrats who, I've talked to people, I've been on panels and we're having a conversation, and I laugh at them and I say, yo, Democrats, you don't have a very deep bench of talent. And they say, what do you mean we don't? We have Gretchen Whitmer. She comes up every single time I talk to anybody or I'm on anywhere on TV. They always bring up Gretchen Whitmer. And right. I laugh. Of course I laugh because so Trump sees her as a potential opponent in 2028 of J.D. Vance. So yeah, so she's going to leave in January 2027. Okay, so I got a question. If you're a reelected, we'll call it popular, Democrat governor who's getting termed out in 27, and there's, I don't know, a big presidential race in 28. See, I don't just say things for the sake of saying them. I'm telling you. She's on the list. She's on the list of 5. If you had to pick 5 names of people that are in the game with the Democratic Party and are going to very likely run in the primary in 28, she's one of them. No question, right? So Trump's just messing with her right here. And, by the way, what one of the best things Trump can do and Republicans can do is appear more centrist, right? It appeals to center. A lot of centrists voted for Gretchen Whitmer. I don't know why, because I think she's odious, but regardless. So Trump comes up there and says, hey, we're this bipartisanship. We're getting stuff done for Michigan. Who gets the win? Not the lame duck. Now we're back to ducks. We're not the governor that's on her way out. And Trump wants to secure Michigan as a state whose electoral votes go to the next Republican so that his agenda continues. in the next term. It's all wins. Who are you're asking me, Robbie, who the other 5 are? Well, of course, Newsom. Newsom's a top contender for 28. Buttigieg, right. Did you see that he grew a beard? Robbie, I know he's gay. I think it's pretty obvious. Buttigieg grew a beard. I think he's trying to kind of get more grizzled. Is he trying to become J.D. Vance? It's fascinating. Buttigieg, AOC, of course, but Josh Shapiro. Yes, Josh Shapiro in Pennsylvania is a contender. Big time. He's thinking about it. I know that for a fact. So that's the short list. Not Governor Pritzker. He would have to downsize. He'd have to be doged around his waistline. The guy is like 5,000 pounds. Coming in heavy. Coming in hot. Okay, friends, let me tell you. We have fun here, don't we? We have a good time. Now, please, I know I've given my email out a lot today. I'm going to do it again. sam@whatsrightshow.com. I am going through these emails, and again, forgive me if I don't immediately respond, but I do get to them eventually. And if there's something you want to ask, bump it up to the top of my email and resend me an email, something that you sent me in the past, and I'll have a look at it. All right, good stuff. @What'sRightSam on Twitter, now known as X. Sign up for that. Very, very important. Show updates, things like that. When we're doing a replay, I'll let you know. So go to Twitter. That's the place to be for all show-related news. @What'sRightSam is my personal Twitter, and then @What'sRightShow for the program. Sam Mirejovsky, News Talk 840 KXNT. I'll see you tomorrow.